In this video essay about Euphoria, we will be discussing the context of the show, cinematography and themes, Jules and her place in pop culture, and what this means for the future of television. Also, trigger warning, there is graphic content shown in this video and also spoilers for Euphoria. Euphoria first aired on HBO in June of 2019. It was met with strong critical reactions, mostly positive. The series includes many sensitive and taboo topics for cable television, such as drug addiction, mental illness, abusive relationships, characters questioning their sexuality, and even some participating in underage pornography. These themes have been what draw many people into the show because of how realistic teens feel it is to the modern teenage experience, but it has also pushed many people away since it is so graphic and can be triggering for some. With the current occupant of the White House, hatred against all groups represented in this show has been normalized more than ever. The juxtaposition of our government right now and the themes and issues in this show is bold.
The director Sam Levinson was able to accomplish such well-rounded portrayals of complex characters and storylines through his masterful cinematography. Euphoria is a show that achieves perfectly executed symbiosis among all of its elements, from the wardrobe to set and sound design. To begin, let's explore one of the show's features that has become somewhat of a pop culture phenomenon. The signature style of over-the-top colorful makeup worn by many of the characters was designed by Donnell Davy. Davy explains how Euphoria approached makeup differently than other shows by saying, "Usually so-and-so has their everyday look, and that's just their look. This was completely different because Sam wanted to make the makeup be its own full expression of what was going on with the characters. If they were experiencing different emotions and circumstances in all the scenes, then the makeup had to be different." End quote. I believe with this technique, makeup serves to deepen the story by offering a visually abstracted version of the character's emotion. In a similar sense, the cinematography adds layers to the show's storytelling capabilities. The camera work of Euphoria is executed almost perfectly, with technically difficult shots being strung together seamlessly. One example of this incredible technical execution on the show is a scene where Zendaya's character, Rue, hallucinates and begins climbing on walls. HBO paid for a model of the hallway to be created and then rotated to achieve this effect. This is just one example of the ambitious use of camera framing performed by the show's cinematographers. More commonly, the show is shot on dollies and cranes to create seamless panning and camera movement. This allows the camera to steadily act as almost another character, moving from quick, intimate close-ups to bird's-eye views. The almost magical use of color in Euphoria is another key component that sets the show apart. Euphoria uses color grading, which is enhancing the color of the film, in this case digitally, to emphasize the emotions of the scene. For example, red is often used in tense and aggressive moments, while blue is employed to indicate enjoyment and calmness. This technique is accomplished in both post-production by increasing saturation of certain colors digitally and by placing LED lights in the set to create the effect in real time. The show's focal color is purple, which both has metaphorical significance and a more practical application. Purple is obviously the combination of red and blue, and this color is more prevalent in situations that deal with conflict and tension. Purple also serves to further enhance the supernatural and fantasy-like elements of the show because it's a color that's rarely seen in nature. Therefore, it stands out to the viewer as important and noteworthy. The final element of Euphoria that I'd like to unpack is the soundtrack and scoring. The supervisor, Jen Malone, made a point of incorporating songs that were often genre-defying and fit the emotions of each scene. The tracklist spans from Beyoncé to Too Short to Jim Reeves, showing a range of different musical sensibilities. The scoring of the show, which is the music that plays during transitions or in the background, also does a fantastic job of assisting the storytelling. Although all of the scoring numbers are cohesive, they have distinct musical themes that appear in connection to certain characters or plot lines, which allows the viewer to be even further immersed in the world of Euphoria.
The inclusion of trans people in popular media is usually hit or miss, with many shows completely missing the mark. Something Euphoria has been praised for is the portrayal of Jules and her gender identity. She is an extremely well-developed character. Part of that development is the fact that she has other aspects to her personality besides being transgender, something many other trans characters in other shows are lacking. Often, writers create characters to teach the audience or the other characters in the show a lesson, to educate them, and it comes off as very inaccurate to the true trans experience. The difference with Jules is that she isn't introduced as the transgender girl, she is introduced as the new girl who also happens to be trans. Her gender identity is only hinted at and never spoken about until the beginning of episode 4, when we get a deeper look into Jules' life and childhood. We do see her inject a shot of what is presumably hormones into her butt in the first episode, but to viewers unfamiliar with this, they may confuse it for something else, such as recreational drugs. It is revealed that the reason the relationship between Jules and her mom is severed is because her mom tricked her into going into a psychiatric hospital. She told her they were just there to talk with a therapist, but after they spoke, they locked her up. It can be debated among the show's fans if this was the correct choice or not, since Jules had been shown to have suicidal tendencies in the past, and her mother did not want her taking her own life. However, the way she went about bringing her there was traumatic for Jules, and after that, she never trusted her mother again, forever hurting their relationship. Jules' parents go on to divorce, so when we meet her, she just moved to the town and is living with her dad. He is shown as a sympathetic character who tries hard to accommodate his daughter in whatever way he can. However, he is nervous because of some of the tendencies she has shown in the past. This suicidal ideation is also shown in the first episode when Jules decides to cut her arm with a knife at McKay's party, seeming not to care about the injury.
By the way, I'm Jules.
This is where she first meets Rue. Hunter Schafer, the actress who portrays Jules, has become very famous from the release of Euphoria. Before she was cast, she was a pretty successful model. However, Euphoria was her big break into the acting world. She now has amassed over 2.2 million Instagram followers, and most recently was on the cover of Allure magazine. Her rise to stardom is something very important because it is helping raise awareness for trans issues. There are other famous trans actors and actresses such as Laverne Cox and Elliot Fletcher. However, not often is a trans actor cast in the main role of a series on cable television.
Jules is just one example of a character that Sam Levinson clearly put extensive thought into making well-rounded. For example, the antagonist of the show, Nate, is portrayed doing some of the most cruel and unthinkable things. Levinson does not dismiss the harm that this character does, but rather provides backstory that further colors our understanding of where these tendencies are derived from. For a show that centers extreme topics such as teenage drug addiction, sex work, and abuse, it is surprisingly grounded in a humanity that allows for the sensationalized moments to be supplemented by a more accessible, humanized expression by each character. Euphoria shares the category of teenage melodrama with shows like 13 Reasons Why and Degrassi. These shows' plot deal with heavy material that should be cognizant of the viewership being relatively vulnerable, considering that teenagers are somewhat impressionable. Because the characters in the show are neither demonized or glorified for their actions, I believe that Euphoria walks the line of portraying the subject matter in a responsible way. Because so much of the show's attributes are sensationalized, for example, the color and the makeup and the camera work, the extreme material doesn't feel as out of place. Levinson also supplements the difficult storylines and subject matter with portrayals of meaningful relationships and humanized qualities within all of his characters. Moving forward, I believe that more shows, especially within the teenage melodrama category, will be expected to pay attention to not only cinematography, such as Sam Levinson's ingenious use of angles and lighting, but also character development. Euphoria is an example of a show that portrays a trans character but does not exploit her identity for shock value. It does, however, deal with a lot of shocking material in a way that feels responsibly complex. The show is thought-provoking and lingers with you after you're done watching it, which I believe is a sign of a quality piece of art.